Everybody, and welcome to another Learn to Digitize video. I am Sue from OML Embroidery, and today we are going to be producing this. And this is Mr. Gallifrey. Let's go back to there. This is the picture I've taken it from. And this is our wiener dog, Gallifrey. And the technique on this is the Sfumato stitch. Now, I don't know how to pronounce it. You guys can feel free to correct me on that. That's how I say it, Sfumato stitch. This is what we're going to do, and I think it's an add-on, but I'm going to show you what results we can get. Now, normally I tell everyone to think outside the embroidery box and break the rules if you can. Doing this is very specific, and there are rules that you have to stick to. But if you stick to the rules, this is the result you get. And it's awesome. I think that looks great. And if you look here, there's two color sets, and I think that looks great. So we're going to work through this, but let's start with the first rule. The first rule is the picture. That's the main thing. So let's get rid of this for now. We're going to come back to the picture of Gallifrey. So the first rule is the picture. You have to pick a really good picture. And by really good, I don't mean the people in it. I mean the high quality. You can't have a low pixel picture. You can't have like a scenery picture. It's not going to work very well. It does work, but it's not going to work very well. You're looking for something specific. Also, remember with this Sfumato stitch, the idea is that the background fabric shows through. And I'll show you all about that and how you can pick it out and everything. But for now, just understand that if you're doing it on black fabric, it is meant that the black fabric is going to show through. So the third rule is it's all about shades. So you need to go through your thread stash, which is kind of fun, I must say, and pick out shades. So for the picture I had up of Gallifrey, we need shades of black, and I guess there's no other shades of black. Black is black, but you need, 4 or 5 of each color. We had on the picture of him that I started, we had black, and I think there's like 3 or 4 shades of gray, and tan, brown, light, going lighter, and the background shows through. So those are the main things to know. So let's talk about the picture, because the picture makes all the difference. And what I've done is I've just searched dogs on Google. And on Google, you can pick any of these pictures, and we're going to go through and decide which is the best one and which is not a good one. So let's go through here. One like this, as long as it's high enough quality, is perfect because there's no background. The background is going to be really hard for the program to pick up. One like this is not the greatest because if you look in here, let's make it a little bit bigger. This is all blurry, and it's going to be really difficult for the program to make this look good. There's going to be different shades of green, and it's going to throw in a purple, but it's not going to look like what you want. So if this guy was cropped out and it was just the dog, so basically that's how to think about it. It's a focus thing. This one, again, the same thing. It's got too much of a blurry background, and it wouldn't be the greatest. You can work away with it, and we're going to do a more advanced course. But for this one, this is beginners. So we want to talk about, how to begin with this and how to work around with it. So going through all these pictures, these are just random pictures of dogs. I picked out this one for an example. And if you look here, when you're looking at all the pictures, you have the name of it, and these numbers here are the resolution. And this is really low resolution, 450 by 569. You want to get the highest resolution. And I have pulled this picture out, and I'm going to show you the difference between a low resolution picture and a smaller picture. And then the picture that I'm working on, and you're going to see the difference. And if you start doing a picture and you get the results that I did, that means you stop and get another picture that's better. So that's one I pulled out. Now let's look at another one that would be good. This one, for example, it's really going to be hard for the program to pick out the difference here. Do you see how that kind of blends in? It's an absolutely beautiful picture. Maybe if this dog was black, there would be a nice contrast between the black and the white. But for this one, it's going to be really hard, and it's going to pull all this and not do it. Um, the resolution is okay. It's 1280 by 1024. We want a little bit better. So let's go back up here. Hopefully you guys are getting the idea of the focus. I'm thinking this one might be okay. It's a nice close-up shot. We'd be able to get some details. And actually, if you look in here, you can see the person taking the picture. Cool detail. A little bit low on one part of the resolution, so no. But a nice portrait like that, I think would be fantastic. So that one's in there, nice neutral background. Let's pick another one that I thought, well, this guy, we kind of went through that. Let's try this guy. Let's see. 1280 by 1024. Now let's look at this one. That resolution is okay. Higher the better. I don't know if there's enough definition between his tan fur and the white background, but you could try that one easily. There was another one here that I thought might work well. Oh, isn't this guy cute? Probably this one if it's high enough quality. Nope, see, that's 750 by 500. You'd get a result, but I don't think it's what you want. So let's pick another one. Well, here's another good example. What a beautiful picture. This guy is, that's baby Gallifrey. This guy is so cute, but notice the ears blend into the background, and it's not going to work very well with what we're doing. So that one's no, even though it's adorable. So we're kind of looking for portraits. Let's look at this guy. 1024, see, not good enough. Let's find a big high quality one. Some of these dogs are so cute. But this is how you go through your pictures and try to pick out the best one. See, this one, there isn't probably enough contrast, and he's kind of off center. You don't have to do the backgrounds, and in fact, I prefer not to do the backgrounds because they don't turn out very well. This guy, same thing with the background. Let's look at this guy. 1024 by 768. See, I'm picking all the low quality ones. I can't remember which ones I had picked out that were high quality. That seems to be the average, and you can do it. Okay, let's look at this one. This says it's a wallpaper, and it's 1600 by 1200. However, the background is all blurry. You could do the dog. He's a bit fuzzy, but you could do the dog and get a nice effect and leave the background out and put in your own background. It will be, you know, blocks of lightly stitched color. You could do it, but that's the quality that we're looking for. Nice high quality. I would say higher over 1,000 for the quality of it, and you should be okay as long as your contrast is good. Now this one, 920 by 662. I'm also pulling up that one so you guys can see, because I wanted to point out, hey, the grass is nice in the foreground and you can pick out different colors, but it gets blurry in the background, and so does the dog. So you're not going to get the quality that you want. So when you're looking through pictures, the higher quality and bigger is better. You cannot take a thumbnail picture, which a thumbnail picture is really small, and make it bigger, because the quality isn't going to be there and you won't get the results. So let's go in and let me show you guys exactly what I mean. You can see I pulled up the pictures here. So let's do the cute little long-haired baby dash on. You want to say no to that. Always with Sfumato Stitch, you need to just pull it up, say no, go into image, edit image window. It's a necessity. You need to know what you're looking at. Now, you can tell, it doesn't even matter the resolution on it. This is under 2 inches, so it's basically 2 by 2. Now, hold your hand up and go 2 by 2. That's a pretty small picture, and that's not going to work. These are not meant to be small designs. I would say that generally it's not going to work in a 4 by 4 hoop. It should be pretty close to a 5 by 7, but I would go to a 6 by 10. Bigger is better because you can get more detail in. So for this one, I'm going to show you guys what doesn't work and what to look for so you don't spend hours trying to get a result that you're simply never going to get. The problems I see with this one, first off, not high quality, and it's a tiny picture. But let's just zoom in a little bit on our cute little guy. He is adorable. This is blurry, too many colors in the background and the grass. But let's just talk about him. So the way to do Sfumato stitch, it works a lot like the fill stitch. So instead of picking fill stitch, we're going to go right here to the Sfumato stitch. And all you have to do to start, let's just start, is you just plot out everything as you normally would. I wouldn't get too, now I'm just doing this quickly, so I'm not going to get too worried about his fuzzy yet very cute ears. And we're just going to go up on his mouth like this. Now remember, this is just, I'm just showing you what you want to look for. So when we do the real picture of Gallifrey, we want to do it a little bit more. Now let's make this decent because you know the guy doesn't have square ears. So we're going to pull out a bit. Again, just super quick because you'll be able to see right away what I'm talking about. So let's just pretend I did a really good job of that. Okay, so basic color. This is the fabric color. They have that labeled incorrectly, actually, just looking at it. So the basic color is the basic color of the picture that you want. And this is, again, we're doing it rough. The other way I would just cut out the black, but just do it rough. Click on it. The basic color is black, and that's what we want. And if you look down here, it's automatically picked the shades. That's why I said you need to have a lot of shades of one color. It's not really going to work with not too many of them. Now, background, this is your background fabric. So this is white, and let's change it to black. Say I was stitching this on black. Did you notice that these shades change to accommodate the background color? So let's put that back to white. We could even try gray. It changed a little bit, but it's all going to show up. And for now, let's just generate these guys. This guy. Generate. I'm back to my clicky mouse. That doesn't look like anything. In fact, it looks terrible. The only way to see what you've done well enough is to go into 3D. And you can see if you're getting results like this, let's zoom right in. Remember, this is a very small picture. If you're getting results like this, that it doesn't even look like a dog, then your picture's too small. It's not picking up the detail from it. And the only way to do it is get a bigger picture. Now, the other thing I want to show you while we're in here is that this Sfumato stitch is not resizable. So it goes directly on the picture. So you need to be set up for your size at the beginning, not at the end. Very important. You'll cry if you put a whole lot of work into it. And I'm going to show you. Other stitches generate themselves and they fix their density and everything like that. The Sfumato stitches don't. They are still based on the picture below. So if I make this bigger, look what happens. Do you see? There's the dog and there's the background that it's picking up on. So it's not resizable. You can even see here that's his ear, his kind of square ear, and that's the background. So if you make it bigger, you're just basically making this mask shape bigger, not the shape of the dog. Now, hopefully everyone understands that. Does that clear? If you don't, you can email me and I'll explain it to you. But it's still going on the background picture. Let's go back into normal mode. Now you can see it real clearly. When I made it bigger, I wasn't making this whole shape, the whole dog picture bigger. I was just making the shape bigger. So now it's picking up stuff from the background. So that's a mistake that a lot of people make. They try to resize. You can't do that with Sfumato stitch. It's just not possible. So let's put this back. Let's go to undo and undo. and undo a couple times because I want you guys to see a little bit more. There we go. There's our dog. And we go to normal, and there's our picture, and you can see that's the outline I did in the first place, and that's what it's picking up on. So again, do not change the size of anything because it's not going to work. Let's generate that. I'm just showing you guys again so you understand because it's really important. So now it's cutting off part of his mouth and it's including all the stairs. So you just can't make it bigger. If you wanted to include the stairs, then you would have to do a separate, I call it a mask because it makes more sense to me to call it a mask. Even when we go smaller, let's generate. Even when we go smaller, you can see it's missing part of the dog and only doing the parts that you told it to. So no, and that looks worse than the first time. So no resizing. That's a no-no. So again, that picture, we see how small it is. It looks really clear, but it isn't. And the program is based on the picture. So those are two rules that you can't bend. You have to have a high quality picture and you can't resize. And normally I say resize, go away, think outside the box. You just can't. So let's start a new one and we're going to bring in that Burmese mountain dog. So we go to image, whoops, me and my mouse, we have a mouse shortage in this house. So sorry about the clicky mouse, but let's go. Let's bring in this guy with it was a little bit better. So you say no. It was a little bit better. The picture is probably bigger, but let's check. Edit image window. Let's go here. Well, it is a little bit bigger, twice as big. Is it enough? Let's try. Now remember, we got to click here, and I'm going to show you more detail about everything. We're just doing this roughly so you can basically see what we're talking about, and we're going to go into all the options and everything you have. Generally pick one color and that's what you're going to work through. It may look really weird, but we got to basically mask each color. So I'm just picking out the black. Again, really rough. You guys do it better. I put way too many dots on it, but that's okay. Let's do the basic color is black, and we are going to have a white background. So let's generate this. Generate. And again, doesn't look like a whole lot. Let's go into 3D. It didn't pick up his eye detail, and you can see that there's white in it. Didn't pick up anything. It doesn't look like, and there's not even too many colors. I picked 5 shades of black and gray, and it didn't pick them up. So that's how you can tell that it's not going to work. And there really is, unless you're going to digitize this guy with the, the stitches and blend it and whatever, there's no point continuing on with Sfumato Stitch on this one because it just isn't going to work, and your end result is going to be not nice. That doesn't look like anything. Even when you put the white paw on the rest of his face, there's just not enough detail in it. And let's also look too in this little spot, and this spot is I have it in millimeters. No, I have 1.18 by 2.15, so it's kind of small in and of itself. But in that space is almost 2,000 stitches. Wow, so we, at the end of it are going to have density issues because the program is trying to do something that it simply can't. So enough of what we can't do. Let's go design, new, and let's design open. Let's pull up Mr. Gallifrey. Now this is one that I've done, and now you can clearly see the difference between what works and what doesn't. This picked up nice detail in his eye and on his nose. See, it's a bit thicker and a bit darker there. And let's see how big it is. I think I tried to gear for a 5x7. That's only 5x5 or thereabouts. So the bigger we make it, the better. So what you want to do, pick your picture. Have a nice picture that's focused. If you're doing a picture of a person, doesn't necessarily have to be a dog, but if you're doing a picture of a person, have it, like a portrait. with no background. I have no intention of doing the background of Mr. Gallifrey because that would be Don's leg with the dog sitting there. We don't really want that. I actually don't really mind this blade of grass. I kind of wish it was up here instead of in front of his nose. But I do think it looks cute, so I just left it. I could do that in Photoshop, but I didn't for that. So that's basically, the start of it. And you can see these little blades of grass coming through there, and we can mask those out and make them green. So let's start working on this. So let's start. We've talked about the picture and we have a good enough picture. I messed with this one in Photoshop a little bit to size. We went through the size of it. And it is taken with our iPhone, believe it or not, and we took it on HD. And so the resolution is huge on this. So we will be able to pick up a lot of detail. So let's start on Mr. Gallifrey, and we're going to go through this after because there's a lot of things to play with. I had a hard time making this video because there's so many things you can do to make this successful. And I just want to give you guys the basics and for this time, but I will do a more advanced one and we'll talk about more things that you can do. So right now I am just going through and I am picking out the black parts on, whoops again, there we go, can't talk and digitize. Picking out the black parts on Gallifrey. And like I said before, the thing that I do, if you really didn't understand anything I said about the resolution, you just do one piece that encompasses, like eyes or something like that. And you can see if it's going to work, and right away if it's going to work. And if it doesn't, then you go ahead and select another picture or do it another way. That's how I found you don't waste any time and you know what you're doing, and that works. So let's go here. Let's leave the base color and the shades just blue for now so you guys can see what happens here. Takes a minute to generate. Now that's a blue Gallifrey. Let's look in 3D. You can see already the huge difference with it. The huge difference. Detail in his eyes, details and everything. Now this looks kind of weird when you zoom in. It's not a zoom in kind of, to look at your final results, because that looks terrible to me. But look, when you zoom out, and that's how people are going to be looking at your design. It's nothing, I wouldn't think you would do this on a shirt or anything meant to be framed and put up on the wall. But you see the difference there when you look up close? Wow, really? You look far away, the further it goes, the more detail you see. And I think that looks great. Even in blue, there's no reason why you can't do shades of and do one in blues and one's in pink. That's thinking outside the box. Do an Andy Warhol of whatever picture you want in embroidery. Bear in mind, of course, it takes a long time to stitch these guys out. They are not shy on stitches. This part right here, that is 5 by 3 and a half, is 14,000 stitches. So if you're in a hurry to make a gift, this is not the technique for you. It's going to take a long time. However, I guarantee you the results are worth it. So we don't want Mr. Gallifrey to be blue, although it's kind of groovy. Let's go into parameters just like anything else, and everything changes. Everything changes. So let's go through the things you can do. Let's go to our basic color, and this part was black. Now it's going to change everything to shades of gray. And sadly, once you apply it, you still can't really see it until you generate stitches and you go to and it takes a minute. Let it think about it. Let it think. And then we go to 3D. That looks better already. So you have to keep going back and forth. So let's go back into parameters. I'm going to bring them down so we can see a little bit. That to me doesn't help me out much of what I can do. But anyways, there it is. So you can change the background. We went through that before. Now we can look here, automatic shades. I have a tendency of leaving that on And I will make sure I have these basic shades. I don't know if I would use a tan or a gray, but you can not use them. See how that changes the picture? If I take that whole color out, and that is basically the highlight, that's how it changes. So if you're doing, a smaller part in this, say it was, nice little pink lips, and you can cut it out, you whole cut it like normal. You don't want 5 shades of thread in that little tiny part. Say Gallifrey had pink lips right here and he was smiling cutely and this was pink. You may only want 2 or 3 to have the look that you want. Remember, bigger is better with this program. Bigger is better. Now, you can add more density to your stitches, and you can do it with separate colors. So I clicked up to 5. Let's look at that. And what that's doing is making this lighter shade more dense, and there's more of it. So you really have to play around with the colors. And sometimes you can go like this and it didn't make that much of a difference. Actually, it made a huge difference. It put all the shadows. Let's look at that again. Huge difference. So we really want that. Let's put this back down to 0. You can mess around with them, and it's basically for each picture, there's no real formula for it, because it really depends on the high quality of the picture, and it depends what you're doing. It also depends on the look that you want. I want enough detail to make it look like Gallifrey, that it's Gallifrey. So what is this one? This is shade threshold, because I guess they're aware that we don't always have all these colors, and I'm clicking on it and it's changing the threshold a little bit, just so you can match closer the thread colors that you have in your stash. So the next thing on here is contrast. Now I've left the contrast up, but if you look here, it's changing the contrast. And what that means is the contrast in the threads. Let it think. I should have done a smaller part so it wouldn't be so much. Apply. It doesn't like this. It doesn't like this. So let's put this back up to 10. It's the contrast between the colors that we're going for. So you can play around with it. That's going to be part of an advanced course, playing with the contrast and quality to see what we're doing. But for now, just leave it at that. Same with quality. It's the quality of the stitches that we're talking about. So let's go up here, thread, shades, layout. You can, I don't even know what that does. It does nothing. Stitch preview. There we go. That's the one I was looking for. Turn that on and off. I personally like to have it on. Another cool thing is that you can pick your colors. So I clicked on that, and you can go here. Now we don't want to touch his groovy eyebrows. We want to pick a color to start with. And it's still pretty much black. What if we go to, see, there you go. Pick basic color. There we go. And it changed, and everything else changed. Let's see how it looks. So again, it may seem complicated, but you really just have to play around. Now let's go in here. See, we changed quite a few things. I'm going to do a smaller bit because it's taking too long to think about it. Yep, he still looks good. A little bit lighter. Let's do, what can we do? Let's pick out his eyebrow. Let's go right up there. Because if there's different colors, if you notice, let's go into 3D. If you notice, it didn't pick up on the brown. It's concerned with the black and different shades of grays. And I actually like it better the way I had it before. And notice the density on here. Over to the left, this is pretty thin because there's a lot of white reflected on his ear. Let's look. Do you see that? There's a lot of white reflected on his ear. And remember, again, the fabric is going to show through. And I picked white fabric, so it doesn't need to put white stitches on white fabric. It's going to show through and have a nice effect. Now over here, there's less shading on his ear. It's quite a bit darker. That's why it's doing that. So let's go in here and look. Whoops, wrong one. I shouldn't have clicked there. Now you notice that it's not picking up on his brown eyeballs. eyebrows. So what we want to do is click on that, and same as you would usually do, we want a hole cut. Whoops. I have a terrible mouse. That's all. Now this is getting pretty small and I'm not even sure if it's gonna work, but let's try it anyways. There we go. And there we go. And we wanna, now that we've cut it, we could mask it, but we're gonna do it this way just for ease. We want a little bit of overlap. There we go. And we're back to our same menu. So we want to pick the color, and that's shades of brown. So I'm going to leave it at that. And let's generate. And it may, again, may be too small. And if it doesn't work, you just go back and back. I think it, let's see, it might add a little effect to it. A tiny bit, and I kind of like it. I actually kind of like it. Let's go into the parameters so we can get our full spectrum here. And what we're going to do, this is what I was talking about with the small part, because only the little bit of brown showed up, which is fine. I kind of like it, but let's go there. That would be a lot of brown. I'm going to zoom in a bit so we can see. I find it's a little bit fiddly, but you can see. Let me zoom in even more. Now this is going to be hard to see, but I want you to see with the changes. See all these shades here? They're there. Light, medium, dark, and darkest. And black, but we don't need black. So let's try taking out the black. That didn't make any difference. Again, this is a very small piece. We don't need 5 shades. We don't need it. Which one do we want? That is the groovy part. I don't think we need that one. So that leaves us with 3. Let's go to apply and generate. And yep, doesn't look like anything. Let's go to our 3D. I like how that worked. So I just cut a hole. Let's do it again. I'm going to zoom in. Just remember what you're working with is the thing. Remember what you're working with. It's a small thing and you just don't want small stitches or a whole bunch of shades. You'll be forever changing your colors if you do it that way. So I could have done that better, but oh well, there it is. So let's cut that hole. Let's go to, and let it think. Remember, we're dealing with a lot of stitches. Let's go to the Sfumato and go here. And what I like to do, I am going to leave this one as blue. This is just my workaround. I just generate it. And then I go to parameters because I like to pull it over and I like to see what I'm doing. I like to be able to see the shades so I can pick out what I'm doing. Now that one's kind of cool. I don't think we need that blue. We definitely, black is just, can you see it there? Right in there when I click on and off. Yep. That one, probably not necessary because remember we're talking, it's not, you could even do that. Let's try with just 2. Let's try with just 2. Apply and generate and give it a minute. Did I not change it? I didn't change it. I don't want him to have a blue eyebrow. Go back to the brown, or you can do it this way and pick one of these. It almost looks like orange. You can pick one of those. I prefer the brown. Let's just do brown. It's on brown. Apply. And stick with the 2. Let's see what it says. I think it's probably good enough. Remember, zoom right out and look on your 3D. Yeah, that one turned out a little bit better. But see, cool effect. You know, dachshunds, black and tan dachshunds have that part. Let's do the rest of Sir Gallifrey's face, and that will make it a lot easier. Then I'm going to show you one more technique that you can use, one more basic technique. So try to get as close as you can. Now, obviously, we're not going to worry about his whiskers. We may put, you know, slight running stitches in, but I think for a dog like Gallifrey, it's not necessary. Maybe if you were doing a really cute kitten that you could put the whiskers in, but I think it would be way too bold with what we're doing here for Gallifrey. So again, you guys be more careful. We do want a bit of an overlap. The colors are going to merge a little bit. We don't want too much of a space because remember our background is white and that's going to show through, and we really don't want that. So again, as always, you guys do it neater. I'm going to ignore all this right now. We're going to let it go in blue, and we're going to do it my way, and we're going to go parameters, and we're going to bring it down, and now we can change it. Now this, you can see all the shades that it's going to incorporate. So basic color, let's stick with the browns and match his eyeballs, and it's doing 5 colors. So let's try, we can take the black out if we don't need it. I like the brown. Not necessarily that one. Oh, definitely that one. So we might be able to get rid of that one. I don't know. Let's try and see. This is the way of doing it. And you can't tell, so let's go. See, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. And how this is showing through, I would match that up a little bit tighter. This I didn't do too badly. But remember, it looks weird, but it's the color of the background showing through. And these are all pretty light stitches. Let's go back into parameters for this one because it's not quite what I want. There's that blade of grass that I probably, you gotta watch for those things. It kind of changes it. So let's go to another thing that we can change. Is over here. We haven't even touched on this. Now this does get a little bit complicated, but you can change the stitch style. So there's only 4 to choose from, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. Let's go to apply, and this is smaller, so we shouldn't have to think quite as much. Let's go to generate, and what it does in 3D, can we do this, computer? I know, see, it's thinking. There we go. It changes it, and it's a bit more of a wandering stitch, and this part isn't filled in quite as much. Let's try another one. Let's try another one. Let's try really dense. Generate. I can see that's different already. See, now that one looks way better. That one I like much better. Now, you can see if you zoom in here, I wasn't quite meticulous enough on these parts. So this one's really dense. I kind of like it. I would probably change the top one to match, but let's just try. I think we were on that one. Apply, generate, 3D. Now, see, I like that one better. A little blade of grass, nothing. You can't change it, you can't fix it, you can't do anything. But if you had this in a bit tighter, I think it would look way better. Now, again, we're looking at this really close. Let's zoom back. Let's zoom back. Look at how good that looks zoomed back, other than the piece of grass. But, you know, it kind of adds to it. Look at how good that looks. The further back you go, the more the wow factor you get. And I love that about this program. Terrible. Wow, look at that. That is Mr. Gallifrey right there. So another little trick you can use, and please do remember to stand back. That's what I call embroidery, stand back and look, and you can judge. I think that looks really fantastic. It would really be difficult to duplicate this look, you know, with regular stitches. It really is a cool part of the program. So let's go back to the normal view. Now we've gone through quite a few of the things on your choices. So let's go back to parameters and then we can see. We've gone through the colors. Oh yeah, by the way, when you are changing this, you can play around with this stuff too. And this is, you know, the stitches, the overall density of the loose areas. So the loose areas means where more of the white fabric is showing through. White, because I picked white. You can change it and it'll change the shades around. So you can mess around with that. This one is overall density of heavy areas. So this is for light areas, this is for heavy areas, and they show you that quite clearly in the little pictures. So the heavy areas, there's a couple spots on the edges that, you know, might be too thick. You can reduce that. You can play around with it. It's basically playing around to see what you can come up with. So the other thing you can mess around with is the stitch direction. This is the density, the highest density. So it goes from lowest to highest. If you think it's not dense enough, you can add more, but remember you're dealing with a lot of stitches. So don't mess around with this for now. But if you want to change the stitch direction, let's put it up to 90, apply, generate stitches. 3D and zoom back. Do you see how it changed? A lot of them are going up and down, whereas before they were going that way. It just depends on the look that you want. Now when you zoom back, that looks fine. You don't have to keep them. You definitely don't have to keep everything the same way. But I think that, other than my little gap there, I think that's starting to look pretty good. Thank you, Mr. Gallifrey, posing so nicely. Now you would do this part, or you could do, you could do the blades of grass, or you can draw them in over top, because this isn't all dense. I might do this on, say, a stem stitch. Why don't we try that, and let's see if it'll work to make it look a little bit better. I don't mind it. It kind of gets, kind of not blown away, but you don't really see it, so I don't mind. And you could sit and do some of the bigger blades of grass and then blend it in with green, just as an idea. Generate, and we want this to be green, and that might have the effect that we need. See, that looks all better already when we zoom out, because remember we have to zoom all the way out. I don't like the color of green, however. That's like, wow. There we go, that's better. But you see how you fixed that? That was something that just didn't quite look right. And the way I've done it too, it looks like it has a bit of a shadow. So see, it looks like it has a bit of a shadow. You could make that a little bit thicker. You can play around with it. It almost looks like he's eating it, but that's how you fix that little situation without going into Photoshop and without working on it. So that's a quick fix, and I would probably see these bigger pieces. I would make the stitch just a little bit thicker and add it, and then I would do a light stitch of green. You can try the Sfumato stitch on this part. Let's go around the outside, but I'm going to show you. Obviously, we're not going to get Don's leg in, but with a little bit of artistic license, you can make this part look good. It really can. So basic color, background is still white because I haven't changed it. This spot's a little bit small. We're probably not going to want all the colors. But let's look and see how that made out. Yeah, you know what? That'll add to the general pleasingness of it. And you can just kind of copy it and put it in the background if you wanted, or just leave it with just the grass and nothing. It'll just be a white background. That'll make Gallifrey's face stand out. So try a few different things. I don't think we need this many shades of green. That might even be better. Remember, it's kind of a small spot. Yeah, I kind of like that a little bit better. You don't have to have all 5 colors in it. So we fixed this little part. We've done Gallifrey's basic face. So there's one more thing that helps make the picture look more realistic. So let me put it to you this way. If you're looking at this, it doesn't really have a whole lot of definition other than the thread lines. What you can add in, this one does, but what you can add in are carvings. And it works really well. I would have to, let's turn off, just so I can see. We kind of want a little bit of carving here. I don't like the way this turned out. I would blend this up a little bit more. But that's part of the, more advanced. You could also pull out his eyes too if you wanted a little pop of color. But I want to show you carving, how much of a difference that it makes. This one doesn't need a whole lot because all of the shading, the carvings are done by the shading, so it looks okay. But let's just show anyways. We want a little more definition, say, on his nose. So we're going to do some carving on it, which really helps. And you can change the color of the carving. So let's just, what can we do just to make it look like, and carving in Sfumato works the same way. this is the thread color of it. Let's generate and let it think. Remember, you're not in a hurry for this one. And let's go to the 3D. Yeah, you can't really see it. That one is just a bad example. But carving helps get more definition. See, you can pick all your shades, you can pick that color to do, and you can pick the width of it. So if you wanted it to be thicker, there wasn't enough stitches where I picked, but carving is actually really important to do. And so you had, you know, for example, like an older person and they had bags under their eyes. I mean, not that you want to accentuate that, but you know what I mean. That's when you'd use carving, or you'd use carving even here to show that his nose is long. That's what you would be using it for. And it really makes a big difference when you carve out the details on it. I mean, obviously you don't want millions and millions of things carved, but let's look at what we can do. See, his nose kind of look, there's a lot of light there. His nose kind of looks, you know, kind of flat. Again, that part irritates me, and so does this cap. But you get the idea. Again, let's look farther away. See, it doesn't look so bad when you look farther away. You can see by the shading that his nose is longer. So it's not, I don't have a great example. Whoops, now that looks awful. I don't have a great example to show you for the carving, but try it. If you want more definition, and there's enough stitches around, it's going to make it look weird, but let's try carving right there. Let's just for the sake and see if it's going to work out, because obviously you can't carve a whole lot where there's not a whole lot of stitches, right? So let's just see. And again, don't rush. Let it think. Yeah, it didn't really do it as well. I will, on the advanced one, well, it does actually. You can change the shade of it. If you're looking back, you can see an indent in there. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It really does make a difference. I just don't have the greatest example. I will set up an example of when it does make a difference and show you guys. So let's look here at our half-finished kind of work, and there are already 20,000 stitches, and it's only a 5 by 5, if you can imagine that. So yeah, when you're stitching out, again, this is just simply not a fast thing to do. So make sure you have enough time. But let's see how ours is stitching out, because it's actually really cool how it stitches out, because it's kind of all over the place. And it kind of does these super random stitches to get all the shading effect in. And there it goes. And it's fun to watch because, again, if you zoom right out, you can see the large amount of detail, and that it doesn't stitch it out the way we're used to. Do you see it's all over the place, and it lays it down and it turns it? Look at all the turn stitches just even in this part. Look at all the turn stitches in it. And look how it's doing it one layer, and then it's doing another layer, and then it's changing it around. That is what makes the detail amazing on this. That's what makes the detail amazing. And wow, look at that. Little tiny stitches. Have a fresh needle on your machine for this. But you can already see the detail of the eye, and see how that jumped around like that. I always love to sit and watch it stitch out, even on the machines too. Now it's going back over, and we're still on, I guess we're on medium gray. So it laid down the black and then a really dark gray. You can kind of see the shade difference. Look at it go. I just think it's really cool. So these are the kind of results that you're looking for, and there's going to be a lot of jump stitches too, so don't get your hopes up for anything. And there's nothing you can do to change them as far as I know. It's just, it is what it is. If you can't trim, then you will be, I tend to, if I'm doing it on the single needle machine, I tend to stop and trim so you don't get the threads mixed up, because it's really hard to get them out. Look how it did the nose there. Just absolutely awesome. Now this is, you can see up here where we are, we're on our second shade of gray, not the lightest, that's for sure. And see how it turns the stitches again to make the shading? It is so cool. We could speed this up a little bit because see how it moves it around? And the randomness and where it places them is what makes these pictures complete. You could really do gorgeous gifts. You don't have to do a dog. Like I said, you can do people. I have tried flowers and it's okay, but it seems like having a picture of your dog or your child or your grandchild or niece or anything in embroidery that actually looks like them is way cooler than a flower, because let's face it, anyone can do a flower. So yeah, change the stitches in this part. I think that's the wow factor to it. The absolute wow factor is that it looks a lot like, or exactly like, what you were trying to stitch. So remember, you have to have a high, really good picture. It has to be, everything has to be there. Remember the beginning of the video where it didn't work? These are the results that you want. And I always do one little part, and if it's picking up the detail in the eyes or in the nose or something like that, then there's a good chance it's going to work. And that's pretty much it. It's to do a couple shades of green. You definitely don't want to put like a full fill stitch on the background. I think it would look good without. Look how good. Oh, see, I love that. I think that looks realistic. And I have my background color changed to the same color as my background fabric is going to be. So you can really get a good effect. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have some success with Sfumato Stitch. It seems way more complicated than it is, and I really had a hard time making this video because there's so many things to do, and it was getting way too complicated of a video. I actually started it like 4 times, and I didn't want it to be too complicated because I don't want anyone to get overwhelmed. I want everyone to take a cute picture of their kid or their dog or their grandkid or anything like that and be able to come up with this high quality stitch out and have it look like this. So I will do, if there's a whole bunch of interest in this video, I will do a more complicated one where we can look more into the carving, because carving is very important. And do try the carving. Again, I just didn't have a good example. Messing around with the shades and the contrast, but you can't do any harm to it. So do play around. Do play around and get a good result. It's amazing by just changing one thing, how it changes the whole design. And again, be patient. Even this computer with 16 gigabyte RAM has to really think about it. And that's fine. You have your little thing there. Don't press anything till it's done. Check in 3D. Now you see how much that's changed the whole picture? It's filled it in quite a bit more. I'm not sure if I like it as much. Yes, I do. That gives it way more detail in here, a little more of the feel of his 3D nose. So I do like it. I just changed one thing and I like it even better. How awesome is that? I even like the blade of grass. So thanks everyone for watching. I wish you all success. Remember, be patient. Pick a good picture. Do not resize anything. Set up your picture as it should be. Do not make it too small. It's not going to work. And stand back and have a look at your work. And you will enjoy using Sfumato Stitch. It's amazing, and we will get into more detail in the next video. Thanks, everyone.